Alongside Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth welcoming you back for the third and final hour of America's Forum for this Wednesday. Miranda, it has been almost 2 years since the IRS targeting scandal was uncovered, and apparently there's some new information about that scandal.
Yeah, that may be true, but we may never know what's in those documents because the Obama administration is declining to publicly release them.
Joining us now for more on this story, Cleta Mitchell. She is an attorney at law, a political law attorney and partner at Foley and Lardner. We're also joined by Ford O'Connell from Newsmax Washington, who will be with us for the next hour. And we should point out, for purposes of full disclosure, that once upon a time, Cleta Mitchell served as my attorney during my days in Congress. So with that all out of the way, Cleta, the obvious question is this: why is the administration stonewalling?
Because they can get away with it, because the Brian Williams media types of the world, unlike the J.D. Hayworth media types, will not hold this administration accountable. And this is nothing new, really. The reason that this made a headline yesterday is because it was now a media entity, The Hill, that had submitted FOIA requests to get information, to get documents from the IRS regarding the targeting scandal, and just like one of my clients, Tea Party Patriots, and a number of Judicial Watch cases and cause of action cases, the IRS and Treasury are refusing to turn documents over as they're required to do under FOIA, under the Freedom of Information Act. And several of us have lawsuits that we've filed against Treasury and the IRS to try to force them to turn over documents related to the scandal. And they just simply refuse. They say that the law allows them to not have to disclose based on various loopholes in the FOIA law. And that's what they've done now to The Hill.
Cleta, a big part of the fact that the Obama administration can get away with this is because the mainstream media itself and the general public at large don't seem to care. This is an issue that fires up conservatives, but why aren't the general public and the media more concerned about this issue? I mean, I tip my hat to you for your efforts, but we still need the media involved if we're actually going to expose this on a national scale.
Well, absolutely, I agree with that. But I will tell you, I disagree that the general public isn't interested in this. Fox News did a poll of all Americans last May and found that the American people are very interested in this story, that 70% of the American people believe that the truth has not come out. And the problem is that apart from conservative media outlets, people who, like yourselves, who want to get to the truth, the mainstream Brian Williams state-owned media, they're not covering it. And I don't think that it means that people are disinterested. I think it means that the media is covering up for this administration. They would never do this if the person in the White House was George W. Bush and if the targeting had been directed at liberals. This would be front page day after day after day in the New York Times and the Washington Post. But the media lost interest within about 60 days of the scandal because they decided that it was not helping Obama and they wanted to put it on the back burner. That's what's going on.
Cleta, so you're saying that several FOIAs were filed, they were virtually ignored because of these loopholes, and that you're blaming basically the media for not putting more pressure on the president, correct? Is there anything else that can be done if these FOIAs have been filed and they're just choosing to ignore them?
Well, I think that Congress, one of the things I've convened a meeting for this Friday with several of the organizations that have got various cases pending against the IRS. And I think that one of the things that needs to happen is Congress needs to conduct some hearings about FOIA and how this administration has become the least transparent historically of any administration in history. I think that all of these FOIA requests are being screened by the White House, by the General White House Counsel's Office. I think that there's been a directive to the Department of Justice which defends these cases.
Cleta, we got 30 seconds left. Let me ask you a quick question.
Disclosure.
What happens basically if Obama leaves office and this is never proven? Are you going to still continue pushing for this investigation?
I think we continue to push for it until we get to the truth. I'm hoping that the Senate committees, now that they are controlled by Republicans, will take up some of the cause of pushing for disclosure. And I just think we have to keep pushing for the truth, because we know that there are things that they're hiding, and we need to keep trying to get those things.
And mindful of the lack of interest in the dominant media within our culture, what about a lack of interest from Republican leadership on the Hill? We'll take up that topic, the political realities of the legal situation with Cleta Mitchell and Ford O'Connell, as we continue here on America's Forum.
I want to implore Commissioner Koskinen to use the power he's been granted to restore the IRS's credibility and make it clear to the American people that his agency, the IRS, will no longer be used as simply another political arm of this or any future administration.
Rejoining me now to continue our conversation, Cleta Mitchell, the partner at the law firm Foley and Lardner, also joined by our co-host for this hour from Newsmax Washington, Ford O'Connell. We just heard Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah on the floor of the Senate urging the IRS commissioner to make changes necessary at the IRS. Cleta, let me just boil it down for you. Leadership, Republican leadership in the House and Senate, do they have the guts and the political will to follow this where it will go in terms of committee oversight and possible votes and all that goes along with that?
Well, I think we can't treat the leadership as one, because frankly, I think the House made a huge mistake I think John Boehner made a big mistake in not Jordan to be appointed to be elected by the steering committee, which is really controlled by the Speaker, to be elected as chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. He's the one. Jim Jordan knew this issue, has been deeply involved in the IRS investigation, and instead the Speaker tapped Jason Chaffetz from Utah, who gave a speech to the Treasury Employees Union last Thursday or Wednesday, in which he told the IRS employees that he thought they should get pay raises, and he thought the idea of calling for the abolition of the IRS was crazy. And in other words, he's throwing in with the very people that we have yet to see him and fully investigate. Now, the new chairman of the House Ways and Means
Cleta,
Committee,
because it's the Obama White House, let's be honest here, no matter what Congress does, they're never, given that we're with the Obama White House right now, it's going to be very hard to clean up the IRS and get in there and really run a full audit on it without a Republican president in the White House. Do you agree, or do you actually think that if the Republican House leadership and the Senate were moving in one motion or moving together, they could actually clean up the IRS and get to the bottom of this, given the fact that we've got 18 months left in this administration?
Well, I think there's a lot that they can and should be doing in the Congress, and what I'm concerned about is that Speaker Boehner took our best player off the field in Jim Jordan. We do have strong leadership with Paul Ryan and the new chairman of the House Ways and Means IRS Oversight Subcommittee, Peter Roskin from Illinois, and I think they are dedicated, and there's a lot they can do. They can do a lot, and they should do a lot, and they should lay the groundwork for a Republican presidency in 2017. So, no, can they do everything that I would like them to do? No, but they can sure hold hearings and focus attention and demand and keep this in the public eye, force as much as they can the media to pay attention to it. And I think that that's really what the role of the Congress should be over the next 2 years.
Cleta, one of the groups targeted by the IRS was the organization known as True the Vote. True the Vote filed a final appeal in December. Can you update us on the status of that appeal?
Well, we are in the briefing schedule now. We're filing briefs with the Circuit Court, the D.C. Circuit. Now, let me just say, this is another Obama administration gift to the American people. Remember when they changed the Senate rules and blew up the filibuster for judicial appointees, and now that was to enable Obama to stack the Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit with Obama leftists. And so now we're before that court in trying to appeal the decision of the lower court, which is a ridiculous opinion, where he said that just because the targeting scandal was over, now that rendered moot all of our claims, which of course violates every tenet of American jurisprudence. It's like saying, okay, just because you're not still robbing the bank, you can't be punished for having robbed it. But anyway, so yeah, we're filing briefs in the circuit court. We could keep our fingers crossed, hope we get a decent panel and not full of Obama leftist judges.
Well, Cleta, I have to play devil's advocate here.
What?
I have to play devil's advocate here. Let's say it's 2018 and we've got a President Scott Walker in the White House, and it's alleged that the IRS is targeting progressive groups. My question to you and the other defenders of freedom and the law, will you be as interested in this issue if that is the case, or is this right now still where it's just a left versus right issue? My concern is about making sure the IRS is treating everyone equally.
And you got about 30 seconds, Cleta.
Look, my proposal is to repeal the 16th Amendment and abolish the IRS and start over, because I think that that agency is so corrupt from the bottom up, inside out, that it cannot be saved or salvaged. So I don't think that we should have any government bureaucrat able to decide whether a citizens group can or cannot engage in protected free association and speech as guaranteed under the First Amendment. So yeah, I'm definitely concerned that they could do it to anybody, although let me just say the federal bureaucracy and the people in it are not likely to target liberals. They only target conservatives.
And on that note, you have our thanks. Washington attorney Cleta Mitchell with an update on the IRS. From the IRS to organized crime, I might be repeating myself. We'll talk about the mob when we come back.